YouTubers, here's another video regarding one of my guns that I paint with. Some of the guys off YouTube put in their comments that what do I actually paint with myself and what's the best gun for them. Well, the best gun depends what you're doing, and if it's something that you're doing behind your garage, behind your home garage, or if you're doing it in a proper unit, it doesn't really matter. A lot of people use different type of guns, right? Best thing to do is always use what you're used to. But if you're a beginner, right, best thing to do is, I still use the same gun that I would use 15 years ago, right? So it's not always about the paint gun either, right? It's a lot to do with painting yourself as well, what kind of pressure you're painting. If you're in a garage, a commercial garage which is with a big compressor, or if you've got a small compressor, it depends exactly what kind of place. But if it's, as I said, most of my videos are for DIY guys, so for DIY guys I would recommend don't buy something too expensive and don't buy something too cheap, right? For painting, best thing to do is get something which you're used to, right, or which you will get used to very quick, right? I would recommend that basically. Right now, the gun I use is a very old gun basically, and it still serves me well. It paints good, it's good as gold, and to be honest with you guys, I wouldn't really want to change it to anything else. I wouldn't really want to change that to anything else, right? It's old DeVilbiss, right? 15 year on, it's still going. I'm just gonna mix this paint, then I actually show you what I've actually got. The paint's normally 50-50 mix. You're putting 50% paint, 50% thinners. You get one of these cups, the measuring cups. You can actually pick them up from any paint shop. Here goes 15% reducer. I've got that on the 200 mark, so this is gonna hit the 400 mark. And that there. What you do now is mix this up. I say a lot of people try rushing jobs. I like taking my time, whether it doesn't matter if you're a slow painter or a fast painter. Main thing is getting the job done and getting it done right. I've just used the strainer. So the paint, basically any little residue or anything can be removed. Right guys, this is my good old GTI um, 110. I've still got the actual old box for this. Here's the old box. It's still got the manual in there. It's got a gauge in there which normally comes more or less preset. 15 year on, this is still going. That's what it is. It's a GTI G. If I'm not wrong, they've discontinued these guns, but you can actually go onto the DeVilbiss site. They do still do the actual parts for them, and this has really worked out well for me. The flow on this gun is not very wide. The paint will come out really nice and fine. If you want to do a paint job which is really nice and fine, this is the ideal thing, right? I mean, this is, if you look at it, I'm not sure if you can see it. If you look at it, set to 20 psi, right? The flow is set to more or less full open. That's the beauty about this gun. It doesn't matter what your compressor is running on, this will basically all gauge it, and you can turn it up a little, but to be honest with you, the paint out of this comes really good. So I normally set it once and that's it, leave it like that. Paint the lacquer on the same setting and the actual paint, right? So you can do both jobs with this, right? You can pick these up quite cheap now off eBay. Obviously they've discontinued them, so I'm not sure if anybody's actually supplying these anymore, but I've seen a good few every week on eBay. They hit around 80 to 100 pound mark, if I'm not wrong. So as I said, it works good for me. I'm used to it, and this is what I use all the time basically. So, and for the DIY guys, I would recommend this, because if you look at the flow, it's not too far off, and if you look at the paint coming out, it comes out very nice and fine. Paint just comes out it flows absolutely awesome. And not a lot goes wrong with these, because they were generally very expensive guns at the time, till the actual GTI Pro came out. You got the GTI Pro, you got the Pro Lite now. There's loads of different models that they've got out now. I normally give it like a dusty coat first. As I'm doing this video for a DIY guys, I'm basically painting slow as possible. I can paint as fast as I want. It doesn't really matter, but that doesn't really make you a better painter. The video is all about basically someone learning, and the best way to do it, put like a dusty coat on there. Just look around, see if you see anything you're not happy with. This is just still base coat, and you can still work off it. Normally sometime when you got greasy hands, right, or you just had some food, you forgot to wash your hands, you'll get a lot of little silicone in there, right, in the job itself. So to avoid that, it's best use 1 or 2 dry coats before you go mad on it, right? If there is something which is going to come out, it'll come out. But if there is nothing which needs to come out, then you're fine with it basically. But that's what I'm saying. Take your time on painting. I have done an earlier video on this when it was actually getting primed, the lip itself. So if you guys do want to watch that, you can actually watch that, how to actually put primer on there, how to mix it. See, after a couple of coats, you can actually build it up to a nice thick coat if you need to put it on. But you don't need to go mad like putting lacquer on this. Put nice even coats. Let that go off a little, and we can put another coat on it. But yeah guys, this thing is absolutely wicked. I've had it for years basically, right, and it's never let me down. No spitting, but the paint comes out really fine, the finish comes out really fine. You put the lacquer on it, you can paint this with a very small compressor, right? It works well. And to be honest with you, at 20 psi, this is actually painting good as gold, right? Never really had any issues with it. As I said, you can buy the parts for it still, right? But it is, all I've done is I've changed the cap on this, which is a genuine DeVilbiss one. It's best to use the genuine stuff. You can actually get cheaper ones for the sake of a tenner's difference, but not really worth doing that. I always normally keep a couple of spare ones anyway. So, but yeah, as you can see, the paint work, something like this, if you're painting behind a shed, you want obviously low pressure. You don't want to put too much dust everywhere. You want obviously a reasonable amount of pressure, right? So you can actually paint this less than 20 psi, right? So I mean, my compressor is not that big, right? I mostly use that for painting. It's about 150 liters, which is not very big basically, right? But as I said, I mean, when you get jobs, I mean, this is something that we actually manufacture ourselves. The chap was nice enough to wait, so, and he said take your time, just do a good job. So I've actually even pre-drilled the holes for him, which we normally don't do. The templates are always there, the whole templates are always there, but I thought I might as well basically, as he's been a gentleman, and I think this week he did say that he's breaking up for half term, so he wants to actually fit this on the car. But yeah guys, this is what I actually use. You can actually use this. What I normally do is, the best one I've found is if you want a very fine job, nice, like a nice finish, not too orange peely, this is a gun to use, right? I really can't tell the difference between this and the Pro Light basically, right? There's not much. I've used that in somebody else's body shop. I might just do a couple of demonstration videos on that as well. I'm not, obviously, you know, I'm not basically offensive against it or bad about it. I mean, it's an absolutely good gun, but you are paying a lot of money for it at the end of the day. For a DIY guys, obviously if they're paying stupid amount of money on a gun and one day they forget to clean it up right before they put it back, that's gone to waste. But as I said, you learn as you go along at the end of the day. And best, I mean, the next demo I might do on the actual GTI Pro and see what the actual difference is. And I mean, in the Pro Lite I didn't really see much of a difference. I don't think there's going to be a very big difference in the actual in the actual GTI Pro, but maybe it's got the flows. From what I heard on a few YouTube videos, that the actual flow is quite big, right? It's got a decent fan on it. It opens quite big, but it depends what you're painting at the end of the day, right? You get the same job done with this gun basically. As I said, it doesn't spit out anything. It's got a nice smooth flow on it, and for me it's absolutely perfect for my spray booth. I mean, mine's not a, I haven't had this basically put in the workshop. This is something we built ourselves going back some time. So, and the extraction is a bit better. Basically, the extraction was measured right to pull all of this out. You still get a bit of little shit in the paintwork, but you would still get that even if you're doing a job for the dealers, so it doesn't really matter. Yeah, it's so far so good, going on there very nice. And as I said, something like this, there's not that there's no better guns. There are better guns, but it's what you're used to at the end of the day. I'm used to this. I'm quite happy in painting all my jobs with this, right? I don't have to do a lot. I know exactly how the paint job's going to be. I don't really, like big surprises. I mean, I've used the FLG5. If I normally want a bit more orange peel, I will actually use this to base with and use the FLG5 to actually put the lacquer on, right? Or vice versa. It works both ways. You can actually paint with that as well and put the actual you can actually paint with this and you can actually put the lacquer on with it, right? In the same gun. They both do the same job. These have been working really well for me, right? I mean, I didn't pay a lot of money for this one, right? Because as I said, it was brand new. I think just delivered, I think including the delivery, I paid about 95 quid, right? But it's a lot of gun for what it is. There was a lot of recommendations on this on YouTube, so I decided to use it. I have used it going back some time, but that was a good while back, right? Used it, but it wasn't my own gun at the time. I was working for somebody else, and I used it then basically. But yeah, as I said, all depends on what you're doing, what kind of a job you're doing, right? If you are doing something decent, right, you can always get a decent gun basically. But if you're doing something in your shed or a garage right behind your house, I think this is a perfect gun. The fan doesn't open up that wide, but the flow is very, very fine. The paint comes out very, very fine. It's just a perfect finish basically. And as I said, it's got a gauge on it already as well. I've had this great gauge replaced. This is where you actually check, right? It's got a genuine gauge with it. It's preset basically. You can't actually set it. All you do is put the gauge in there so you know that it's bang on set to 20 psi. So when you paint it, that's all that comes out basically. But as I said, it's set from factory like that. But for some reason, I don't know why they've actually not stopped doing these and discontinued them. because it's an excellent gun for it. But it is basically it's a 1.4 nozzle on this fluid nozzle, and as I said, you can do anything with this. Basically, you can paint with it, you can prime with it, but I don't use this for primer. I have a different gun for primer. Right, you can use a FLG5, a 1.8 nozzle, which is used for priming. If you're doing a lot of commercial work, you can go up to 2.0 or even higher than that. But a lot of the time, as I said, if you are using something like this for priming, it would actually hurt a person to do so, because at the end of the day, you're paying good money for something and it will need to be thoroughly washed. If somebody's telling you they've used primer in this and they can put paint straight back in it, maybe at the time, there and then, yes, right? But if you leave it for a few days, I mean, I don't clean my gun out every day, right? I just put a bit of thinness in it, blow it through, make sure the tip doesn't have any residue in there, right? And it's fine, basically. Just carry on to the next job. But you should, every now and then, when you know it's had enough usage, just strip it down and basically clean it out properly. A lot of guys have been asking me how long does the actual job take. Well, I haven't stopped the video, so this is more or less finished now as base coat, right? So I'm gonna let it go off a little before I start putting the lacquer on this. I'm gonna use the same gun to do so. I can either stop the video or carry on with it, because it looks like it's already gone probably long enough. It's about 24 minutes video. This is the other thing. If you don't do no editing, you end up doing separate video for lacquer, separate video for painting, basically. So it roughly took about 25 minutes or so, including the mixing time. I'm quite happy with this now. I think there's more than enough covered on it. Need to lacquer it. Yeah, so that's good enough covered. So yeah, roughly about 25 minutes to paint it. This would be something nice, basically. You can get guns, it's what you're used to at the end of the day. As I said, you might get something which is more expensive and you might not like it, because it's how you paint as well at the same time. If you've been doing this for a while, then it's very easy to get used to. You can get anything, basically. Wherever's best gun for a person is what he can afford. I mean, if I could only afford a £20 gun, I would get my job done with that, and I proved it in my early videos. right? That any job is possible with even a 10-pound gun. It's not that, it's how much effort you gotta put in and how much usage goes out of it at the end of the day, right? So that's how I look at it. I mean, a lot of people complain that these guns actually take a lot of paint. Personally, I don't think that's true. There's not much of a difference in them at all. The high volume, low pressure ones, they basically not exactly saving you a lot. But you're having to obviously paint stuff on high pressure as well at the same time, right? So it depends how you look at everything basically at the end of the day, right? And what kind of facilities you actually have in order to get the actual job done basically. If you got a small compressor using a low volume and high pressure gun, to be honest with you, right, it's not really any good basically. You get the same job done. I mean, I painted this with a quarter of a liter, and as I said, the covering was done in the first 3 coats. But yeah guys, at the end of the day, right, it all depends what you're doing, what kind of job you're doing. If you got a professional garage, you want to do proper custom jobs, you can obviously go for something like a GTI Pro, GTI Pro Lite. They actually do, in both of them, they do the GTI Pro base, and you can actually get a GTI Pro Clear. They both come in 1.4, 1.3 tips. So it's what deal with basically. But best gun for a person is what he can afford, and to be honest with you, sometimes it's better to just look at some of the second-hand ones as well. Even if you're doing something, I mean, like I said, this gun, what I'm using, I've seen them on eBay for as little as 100 quid, right? 100, 120 quid in a very, very good condition, working order. As I said, you can get the parts from them, from eBay as well. The suppliers do all the parts as well. So it's quite good in that sense, right? So at the end of the day, it all depends what you want to spend as well at the same time. You want something for long-term wise, you can get a Pro Lite, right? Or a GTI Pro, right? You can just get the one gun, which is a GTI Pro, which is more in demand and in the market at the moment, but obviously it's got a more of a wider fan. This one doesn't have much of a wider fan, but as I said, it depends on what you do with it, right? I mean, I'm quite happy in painting this with a smaller fan, but it's not that small either, guys. That, you know, when I say a smaller fan, there's not much of a big difference either, right? But for like the DIY guys, it's perfect. But yeah guys, I mean, this is only a little spoiler I'm painting. What I'll do is, I've got a couple of big jobs as well, so where I'm gonna probably paint a couple of sides or something like that. I'll do a different video to where you guys can see more of a better thing of how the actual gun works. But I was hoping it would dry up, but it's pretty cold, so I don't really want. I might just turn the fan off and get some heat on it. Can't really start painting while the base is still a bit tacky or wet. You just get a lot of sinkage. Guys, I'm gonna shut this video off because this video is gonna get a bit silly long. But as I said, any questions are welcome, just shoot them through. And have a nice weekend. God bless, and see you till next time.